Welcome to Gay Fairfax, the National Capital Area's only weekly cable magazine sharing news, views, and pride. I'm Barry Forbes.
And I'm Michelle Michaels. Each week we'll feature events and personalities of interest to gay men and women in Northern Virginia.
On this edition of Gay Fairfax, we'll attend the annual meeting of Virginians for Justice and speak with Chairman Bruce Nielsen.
And we'll talk to Michael Ward, an independent candidate for the Arlington County Board.
But first, with this week's gay trivia question, here's Peg McCraw.
The word gay as used today most likely refers to homosexual. A rose by any other name would smell as sweet, perhaps. Before we were gay, we were many other things. Can you name 10 unusual and archaic expressions for a gay woman or man? Stay tuned for the answer at the end of the show.
Thank you, Peg. Virginians for Justice, or VJ, is a lobbying organization working to advance equal justice for all gay men and women in the state of Virginia. Their 1991 legislative priorities have included alcoholic beverage control, or ABC law reform, hate crimes, and AIDS funding. Now join us as we sit in on VJ's annual meeting.
I'm Bruce Nielsen. I'm the current chairman of Virginians for Justice, and this is our annual meeting. Virginians for Justice has been incorporated with the State Corporation Commission in Virginia. We are a non-stock membership corporation, and the state laws require that there be an annual membership meeting. I think the board has always interested in getting comments from the membership, but this is a good time, at least once a year for sure. We have an occasion where anyone can come and speak with us. The people in Richmond are starting to realize that gays and lesbians are going to be back every year, and we're going to get better and better each year about how to present our case, and I think we will start having more successes in the future. With regard to the ABC law, I can tell you we met with people in the governor's office. We met with the Speaker of the House, we met with the ABC board, met with a number of legislators. In the end, it looked like it was becoming a partisan issue, and the sponsor did not introduce the legislation. But we're still working on things. I think one of the important things we got from our paid lobbyists 2 years ago was the concept that we need to do a lot to educate the legislators. And I think she basically said, we have a few friends, we have a few enemies, but for the most part, the vast majority of the legislators are uninformed about the gay community and what our concerns are. And that's our challenge. In the coming year, at this point, we're trying to identify a number of people around the state who will be citizen lobbyists. We'd like these people to commit to doing several days of lobbying. Some of that could be done in their home area, contacting the local legislators, and some of it will be done in Richmond. We're going to have training sessions in Norfolk, Roanoke, Northern Virginia, and Richmond. Hopefully we can bring out a fair number of people in each of these locations, and that they can use what they learn for both the local groups and for VJ.
I think most of you are aware, just from reading the newsletter and discussions and from what Bruce said about what went on this year. As Bruce said, we worked really hard to have a bill introduced this year, and I think it was about an hour before the bill filing deadline that it was determined that our potential sponsor was going to renege on us, and that's what happened. What we plan on doing this year is, first of all, talking to the governor. I think a lot of you might have already gotten your newsletter, the most recent issue. If you haven't, it's probably in the mail today. Included with it, there are small pink postcards. I've got literally thousands of these postcards, and if you know of anybody that wants to send a postcard, or if you know of any organizations that would like to distribute them, just let me know. My phone number's in the newsletter. And the reason that we're doing this is because we feel that in order for any gay and lesbian positive legislation to occur, we have to let them know that we're out there, the legislators, and this is one way of doing it. ABC Board had open town meetings scheduled at sites around the state in Roanoke, Richmond, I think Richmond, Charlottesville, and Northern Virginia. Gays and lesbians came to the ABC meetings and spoke on our behalf and on their own behalf, just asking the ABC Board to change these laws. And they received, I guess, what you could call positive responses from the ABC Board. They did say they thought they were wrong, and I think by the time that they got several meetings into their tour around the state, they were getting kind of tired of hearing about this, which I think is wonderful. That's exactly what they need to hear. I know that Gay Fairfax television taped the meeting in Northern Virginia, and I saw that tape, and it was really nice.
Well, last year, there was a bill passed. It was called the Ryan White bill, after Ryan White, the little boy that died in Ohio, I think. Out of that money, there were two titles. That's the way they described the laws. Out of Title I, which included the epicenters or the largest cities, D.C. got $1,690,900 some dollars, and under Title II, the whole state got $1,020,000. I think the way it worked out with Title I money was that Northern Virginia was going to have something like 40% of that money. And under Title II, they got the majority of the money. So they should have ended up with pretty good money. This money, half of it was going to be used for AZT, and they considered it new money, but really what they did was just deduct the old AZT money and call this new money. So we basically got shafted. The rest of the money was going to be spent on direct care. But it's going to be a very defensive posture this time around. It's going to be very, very bad. And depending on what other escapades, come out now with the way the media handles it, we might even have to fight something else. Just recently in Fairfax, this doctor, is being made to answer charges because he prescribed vitamin C to a friend of mine. And some of those treatments aren't medical treatments, but they are being used by people with AIDS, and some of them are working. But this person didn't have a license to practice medicine in Virginia. He had one in Maryland, and so now that's all in a big mess. But the hysteria, is like AIDS and doctors put together, and people associated with, I'm going to get infected if I go to a doctor.
Many people don't realize what a hate crime is. And a hate crime is simply any activity meant to intimidate a group of people. That includes verbal, physical, or vandalism. That includes getting called faggot or dyke on the street. We decided that we would follow our recommendation would be to follow what several other states had done, which was create a reporting line, since Virginia, as in many states, does not have a statewide reporting mechanism for hate crimes based on sexual orientation, and look at perhaps changing some legislations thereafter. Well, that was the year that we had some funding trouble due to our lobbyist expenses, and our recommendations were approved but tabled. Recently, they've been brought back, and a brand new hate crimes committee met, and from that, we've put out this brochure, and if you all don't have one of these, we do have extras floating around. And these business cards, which we don't have extras floating around, we don't have many, but we're working on a second run. And we actually got the hate crimes line started. The line is becoming a clearinghouse for reports of discrimination. If you recall, I said that it's an incident intended to intimidate. I've gotten many phone calls from people who have been discriminated against. They have been told they can't buy a house with their lover. They've been thrown out of the apartment where they live. They've been fired from their job. They're worried about, they've been convicted of the crimes against nature code, sodomy. And they want to know, is that going to affect their life when they try to get into law school? things like that. I've gotten more of those types of calls than I have gotten actual hate crimes calls.
In the Virginia statutes, it's section 18.2-361, crimes against nature. If any person shall carnally know in any manner any brute animal, or carnally know any male or female person by the anus or by or with the mouth, or voluntarily submit to such carnal knowledge, he or she shall be guilty of a Class 6 felony. And according to the statutes, a Class 6 felony conviction would bring a term of imprisonment of not less than 1 year, nor more than 5 years, or in the discretion of the jury or a court without a jury, confinement in jail of not more than 12 months and a fine of not more than $1,000, either or both. So that just gives you a little references to the laws themselves. We have contacted Lambda Legal Defense and Education Fund in New York, which, as you probably know, is a legal interest fund or test case litigation organization for lesbians and gay men. They have agreed to assist us in informing our strategy. And I'll read you a little bit from the letter from Evan Wilson, who is one of their staff attorneys. He says, regarding a possible legal challenge, I would be eager to work with the people in Virginia and to commit Lambda's resources to a case. Please let me know if there are attorneys available in your group who would like to coordinate research and strategizing with me. Virginians for Justice could be extremely helpful in locating plaintiffs for such an action. We would want a range of people, gay and non-gay, married and unmarried, men and women, disabled, older, professional, and racially diverse. We would particularly like to include plaintiffs as people who have A, been arrested or prosecuted for sodomy or attempted sodomy, B, people who have a strong particularized reason to fear criminal prosecution, and C, professionals or others who need certifications of, quote, good conduct or, quote, moral character, and want to know whether private consensual sexual intimacy disqualifies them. So hopefully the board will be contacting Lambda Legal. They've assigned a staff attorney to do some more research under Virginia law to assist us. So we're hopefully working with them in the future.
We are just beginning to look at the issue of domestic partnership. So far, I've gotten materials from Bruce, primarily mailings that he's gotten from organizations that are addressing this topic. What we would like to have from the membership are, first of all, additional sources of information about organizations or from organizations who are dealing with the issues of domestic partnerships, and then some direction from the members in terms of where we as an organization want to go with this issue, what we want to address, what we want to try to accomplish.
We're only a board of now potentially 17 members. There's only so much any group can do. We need people to help us, just as Shirley was able to get a group of VJ members and others to help her with hate crimes. We would like to do the same thing on other issues. If you know anyone who's interested in a particular issue, tell them about us, tell us about them. These are the issues that we've identified, and you can only do so much. These are the ones that we're working on right now, but we're not locked in. I mean, I guess I can't speak for the new board, but I don't think the board is locked in, but we have to start somewhere. If you know people who were really interested on, say, parenting issues and want to work hard, maybe together they and VJ can get further than either one of us could alone. So we're open, I guess that's what I'm saying. We want people to work with us. We want to work with them. So let us know what we can do and what we should be doing. I want to thank everybody for coming.
Gay Fairfax needs you. Energetic, dedicated people willing to work hard and have fun too. Use your creative talents to produce segments, write scripts, or interview guests on camera.
You can learn a new skill like becoming a camera operator or a studio lighting technician or even a technical director. You can make a difference by joining the Gay Fairfax team today. Together, we can help keep the pride alive.
So write to us at Gay Fairfax, Post Office Box 2322, Springfield, Virginia 22152, or give us a call at 703-451-9528. Michael Ward is a 26-year-old certified public accountant, a member of the Arlington Gay and Lesbian Alliance, and an openly gay candidate for the Arlington County Board. Gay Fairfax recently caught up with Michael on his campaign trail and talked to him about his political strategy.
Thank you, Michael, for coming to talk to me today. I'm talking to Michael Ward, openly gay candidate for the Arlington County Board. The general election is November 5th. What is your primary motivation for entering this campaign?
Well, I am a resident of Arlington and a homeowner. I've lived there for 3 years, and recently the Arlington County Board has begun discussing a historic designation of the neighborhood I live in. All of my neighbors, including commercial developers who own part of the property, are opposed to the designation, and the county board seems not to be listening. So I decided that one way to have my voice heard was to enter the campaign for the board race and to raise the issue, because it's not being raised right now.
Is this the first time you've considered running for something?
Yeah, this is the first time I've been motivated to get involved in politics. I've been a resident of the Washington area for 15 years, so I've been exposed to a great deal of national and local political issues. But this is the first time it's really hit home, and I've been motivated to get involved personally.
So the Arlington County Board, what does it do? What's its power range? I mean, what is it?
The board is the legislative body of Arlington County, responsible for county services, education, police, fire, property, as far as zoning and historic designations, things like that.
I understand you're a libertarian, so does that tie in with libertarian politics?
It does. Libertarians believe very strongly in the rights of the individual and the lack of government interference in the conduct of our lives. Government interference through taxation, the taking of property, which is the case in historic designations, and all of these issues really do have a very strong libertarian basis, and they should be looked at in the context of the Bill of Rights, which guarantees certain rights that are being abridged.
What is appropriate government involvement?
The government is essentially responsible for guaranteeing and preserving the rights that we're granted by the Bill of Rights, and there should be police functions and certain defense functions and so forth, but the government should not be involved in the delivering of education and social services, which are the private sector is equally capable to deliver them and probably could do so more effectively.
Okay, so if encouraged to do so, like by creating a vacuum, then
Yes.
presumably private sector would step in.
Oh, absolutely. The reason private sector doesn't step in right now is because the government is so involved in delivering everything that there's no incentive. But there are individuals that are willing to see the government support social services, and those same individuals would be willing to have private sector support in the absence of government involvement.
I have this wonderful button called I'm Out in Arlington. So you are an openly gay candidate.
That's correct.
How long have you been openly gay?
I have been out for about 3 years, and I feel motivated to run as an openly gay candidate because I think it's important for our community to stand up and be counted. I think the rest of the populace should know who we are and that we are intelligent, well-spoken, articulate people, and that we can make a contribution and have an impact.
So does the Libertarian Party support gays?
The Libertarian Party supports the rights of the individual and does not think the government has any business telling people what to do in the bedroom. It's the only national party to stand up against sodomy laws and say they should be repealed. And essentially, the Libertarian Party is the best choice for gays and lesbians because it fights for individual rights which are currently at risk, certainly for gays and lesbians around the country.
So like being an independent candidate wouldn't give you the support that the Libertarian Party gives you, or?
There's a level of support, but I think the primary reason that I have aligned myself with the Libertarian Party is simply because of the ideals. I think they're important ideals, and I think they should be put forth and talked about. And I think people have forgotten the Bill of Rights and have let the government just take over, and they shouldn't do that. And hopefully by enough of us standing up and speaking and reminding people that the Bill of Rights is out there and should be adhered to, and we should hold the government to that. Hopefully they will begin to do so again.
Do you think that being an openly gay candidate is an advantage or a disadvantage, and how so?
Well, I think the voters in Arlington are sophisticated and don't necessarily consider it an issue. It's no different than being married or single or being black or white. It's simply an aspect of the person running. I don't think in the Arlington local politics it's an issue. I think it's an important thing for me to run as an openly gay candidate simply because we shouldn't ignore the fact that we don't have good images. Too many times there are negative images portrayed by the rest of the community, and we should fight that by putting forth our own positive images.
So do you have an agenda that is more gay-oriented, or is it people in general oriented? What is your...
Well, there really aren't any issues before the county board that would have an impact on the lives of gays and lesbians specifically. So my involvement in county politics probably would not afford the gay community any special advantages, because most of the things that affect their lives are state and federal things. But I think by being involved, I have a voice and I have a face out there, and I can stand up and say the gays and lesbians of Arlington feel this way, and at least then we have a presence.
Yeah, there certainly is an impact, though, to have somebody in office who is openly gay, just to have like that written in the paper every time, openly gay council member such and so.
In order to just to remind people that we're part of the community, and that we should be accepted as part of the community.
Yeah. How about if you had a single thought or slogan that would characterize your campaign? Do you have like a sound bite?
Essentially, I believe that people's properties and their personal lives should be under their own control, and the government should stay out of the bedroom and the boardroom, and essentially limit their activities to just the delivering of basic needs and not beyond that.
Social service-wise, how do poor libertarians get by?
By participating in the market system and working and succeeding. Everyone has the opportunity to do that. The government restricts that opportunity a great deal by its interference in the market and in the delivering of social services. But in a true market system, everybody would have an equal opportunity to succeed. And so we would like to get closer to that.
How do you see that as helping your candidacy, or what you can offer to Arlington?
Well, I think I'm aware of the business part of the community. I can understand their needs a little bit better because I've been a member of the business community in Northern Virginia for the past 5 years, and because I'm involved in it, I feel a particular need to support the market system and stand up against anything that tends to interfere with that.
How can people get more information about your campaign?
Well, they can reach us by phone at area code 703-920-4023.
Did you know the answer to this week's gay trivia question? Here's Peg with the answer.
In the 1920s, gay women were bull dykes or saphists. In the 1940s, we were collar and tie or slacks. And finally, in the early 70s, the dreaded lavender menace. At the turn of the century, gay men were Nancys or inverts. The 1920s brought us Bird or Lizzie, while the 30s dubbed gay men buttercups. I wonder what they meant by lavender menace.
Well, that wraps up another edition of Gay Fairfax. Now, don't forget that you can tune us in again next week at this same time. For Gay Fairfax, I'm Barry Forbes.
And I'm Michelle Michaels. And remember to keep the pride alive.
So if you spot me on the fringe of the party, holding up the walls with lean and hungry eyes, don't be afraid to say hello to a stranger. You might just like a surprise. That's not the way I am. I'm not that kind of man. It's not that I'm shy. I'm just not that kind of guy. So if you feel the same, you're tired of playing games, and try to understand that I'm not that kind of man. No, 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 no. That's not the way I am. I'm not that kind of man. It's not that I'm shy. I'm just not that kind of guy. So if you feel the same, you're tired of playing games, and try to understand that I'm not that kind of man. That kind of man. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Do you live around here? What?